1, 2, 3, and hello there. Rod Fleming here in the Philippines. Before we go further, today's topic will be situational homosexuality and why men have disappeared from the dating scene. So before we go there, would you please subscribe and go to my Patreon. It's always nice if you give a little something. Don't have to give too much. Anyway, the matter of why men are not going to dating anymore. I've been reading a lot of articles lately and seeing them on YouTube where people are saying, oh God, 90% of the people at the nightclubs now, they're women. You know, there's no men. And whether that's entirely true, I don't know. But there's certainly enough noise being made about it to make it worthy of some interest. You know, it's like, well, no smoke without fire. So what happened to all the men? And you know, online there are loads and loads of videos of women really bitching like stuck pigs over the fact that, you know, they put on a little bit of dress and makeup, you know, and they go to the clubs and expect men to buy them drinks and get them dinner and all the rest of it, pay all their expenses, and they might possibly get a little peck on the cheek at the end of the night, you know, that kind of nonsense. And the women are going, my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why are they not? You know, I'm wonderful, I'm super, I'm a wonderful woman. I'm a high value, lovely term, I'm a high value woman. Why are men not there chasing me in their droves? And the answer is, you're not high value. This all started, well, there's always been a problem with women, that they think they're worth more than they are. But the real reaction began with the MeToo movement, which is like 7 or 8 years ago now that it began, although its disgusting history continues. And basically the MeToo movement, the whole thing was, let's just hate men as much as we possibly can. And it had several things that really screwed this up. And the first one was that you have to believe women all the time. Everything they say is true. No arguments. Well, you know, I can remember quite clearly when I was 6, and I didn't think of much of it all the time. At the time, rather, I asked my mother, do you prefer boys or girls? That's the kind of thing a kid asks his mum. And my mother, who was a very strong woman, said, oh, boys, definitely boys. And I was like, oh, why is that? You know, it's just because you happen to have 2 boys. You know. And she said, no, it's because girls lie. Girls lie all the time, and I hate it. And I didn't really think too much of it until many years later, and it kind of went, interesting. And she was right. That's the problem. The biggest group of liars on the planet are asking everybody just to believe them. Just believe us. Whatever we say, it's true. Yeah. You know, they're like politicians, but worse. They're female politicians, Jesus. Anyway, leaving that to one side. That's where it all began, with the Me Too thing. Because very quickly after that, you've got reports of men saying, well, you know, if I have to be in a meeting with a woman alone, the door must be open. And if she says, well, close the door, I'll say, no, I can't close the door. And then she'll say, well, why won't you close the door? We need privacy. And you'll say, well, no, because I'm afraid that you will accuse me of some untoward behaviour. You know, the thing you have to remember is that a coach will always believe the woman. Always. They'll never believe the man. If he says, oh, Chris, I was in Timbuktu when she says I was there, you know, fiddling around with her. It doesn't matter. Even if you got the airplane ticket, it doesn't matter. They're going to believe the woman. And you will be held in custody or maybe on remand. Your name will be made public. Hers won't. Hers, no. Must conceal the identity of the woman. But the men, no, your name's going in the media. Your reputation will be destroyed, your job, probably lose your job. And even if you're, at the end of the day, in the unlikely event that it gets to court, because most of these cases are such complete bull that the prosecuting authorities just won't take them to court, but your reputation is still completely destroyed. A very tiny number will turn out to be upheld in court that you actually did something wrong. But the point is that men went, no, I'm not doing that. I would have to be so stupid. You know, so they started with that in the workplace, that men were going, right, no, I am not going to work with women, I'm not going to work in teams with women, because working in a team with a woman is terrible. I'm not going to have women bosses, I'm going to try and find work where I don't have to put up with that. And even though it's illegal, companies, in some countries anyway, companies were saying, well, we just won't hire women. Because we need the men. The men have skills that we need, right? And we're being told, well, you've got to hire more women, but they're not good at the jobs that we want them to get done. So we hire women, I mean, if you're in the business of bricklaying, why would you why would you hire women? Just statistically, there are so few that it's unlikely that you're going to get any good ones. So that's where it began. It began in the workplace. But clearly, what has happened is it has moved to social life, that men are no longer having anything to do with women in the social life. Now, again, I think there's a degree of hyperbole going on here. I mean, I don't think, it's quite as bad as these people are making out. Or maybe they're just absolutely awful women whom, nobody would go near anyway. I don't know. I don't know them personally. I just see them on YouTube. And it's quite possible, because let's be quite honest, US American women are appalling. They're dreadful. They're rude, arrogant, brusque, interfering, judgmental, you name it. Every fault there is, they've got it. Very, very few US American women are even tolerable as friends. They're horrible people. And I see them here, they come here and they're appalling. They come to Thailand and they're appalling. They came to Scotland, they're appalling. They come to France, they're appalling. So God knows what they're like at home. If they're like that in a foreign country where they're supposed to be behaving themselves, my God. Anyhow, I still don't believe that it's maybe quite as bad as some of them are making out. I mean, women, they just have to exaggerate everything. But there are claims that, as I said, 90% of the clubs now are empty. They're all women. 90% of them are women. So where are all the men who are going to buy us drinks? My God, I might have to buy my own drink. Wow! And this is because women have been brought up to believe, particularly in the United States, but also in Britain, that being pretty, putting on a little bit of makeup, having your hair done, and wearing a dress, that makes you a high-value woman. That makes you someone that a man will be interested in. Let me just disabuse you. There are three things that interest men, as far as women are concerned. And the first one is parenthood. They're looking for a good wife who will have children. They're not looking for a 30-year-old, if they're looking for that. They're looking for a teenager. Yeah. So if you're 30 and you are in the dating pool, then you've basically missed the bus already. Sorry about that, sister. The second thing that men are looking for, and it is really important, especially today, is sex. They want sex, and they want good sex. They want sex that is rewarding and satisfying, that you lie back afterwards and you go, that was really nice, honey. I love that. If the girl is not providing that, then what exactly is this about? Because I'll tell you something. It's not about her scintillating company. It's not about her standard of conversation. It's not about hearing about how wonderfully strong and self-motivated and independent she is. Men do not give fuck one about any of that. If she's not the mother, we really, actually what we want is the whore of Babylon who is also ISIS, or ISIS rather. That's what we want. Actually the whore of Babylon was actually a version. Never mind. We'll get into that another time. What we want is someone who is just an absolute sex goddess and also a great mother. And if you've got that, guys, don't let her go. Do not let those ones go. Those are keepers. But there are very few women like that anymore, because women have been brought up to believe by feminism that they shouldn't have children, that that's demeaning, that having proper relationships with men is somehow wrong and it betrays the sisterhood. And then they're bitching because they can't get a man. Well, of course. Men go, you've just spent the last hour telling me how a complete piece of shit I am. Now you want me to buy you dinner. I don't think so. So what's happened is that women, under pressure from feminism, and you have to remember that feminism has completely corrupted the education system both in the United States and in Britain. They've completely destroyed it. It's now just a Marxist-Leninist feminist training school, indoctrination school. That's what it is. Don't go to college. Fuck that. Go to a training school of some kind. Get a trade. Don't be studying the humanities, whatever you do. I mean, they were always shit. It's 100 times shit now. All of these things mean that women just don't think about it. They just think, oh, all men are scum. Excuse me, I'm having a wee drink. So, to get on to the next part of the story, there is a thing called situational homosexuality. Now, one of the interesting things about this is that within situational homosexuality, neither of the parties need necessarily be homosexual. It happens in places like prisons, it happens on ships, in military units, although they don't like to talk about it. It's all so many different places where it will happen. And the thing that ties them all together, the binding principle is there's no women. There's no access to women for these men. So if there's no access to women, what are you going to do? There's a cute boy, It's that or your right hand, or your left hand. So, situational homosexuality happens. It's very interesting. It happens in these places. And it shows really remarkable confirmation of things that I say about sexuality generally. I mean, it shows you things like the dominance hierarchy. Dominance hierarchy is absolutely definitive in prison sex. Big beasts take care of the punks, as they're called. And by the way, it's often portrayed this way, that the big beasts are busy trying to grab the punks and beat the crap out of them. In fact, studies have shown that mostly it's the punks who are looking for protection. And they go, right, quid pro quo here, I will suck your cock if you'll make sure that I don't get hurt. And that's what it's really all about, That I'm sure there's passion involved, there's always passion with sex. But the underlying, yes, the dominance hierarchy is that the big beast is dominant over the punk. But it's not necessarily the case that the big beasts are just grabbing the punks. I mean, there is a general rule in human sexuality that the recipient in sex is the gatekeeper. They decide. They decide whether they're going to do it or not. And that's as true in prison sex as it is in the male-female relationships. I mean, women are the gatekeepers to sex. We have so many laws protecting women's right to say no. I mean, it's become utterly bloody ridiculous. In fact, in the last 15 years, it's just a fucking joke. And you can see why men are going, I don't want any of this, What, you want me to sign a legally binding paper every time I want to change position in sex? Really? And yes, there are feminists saying that this is what should happen. I don't think you need really very much more confirmation that these people are absolutely insane. They really are. They're fucking nutcases, and they're dangerous. Anyway, situational homosexuality occurs because there are no women. I was reading a piece. It's actually it's a postscript, to one of Havelock Ellis's books in the series Studies in Psychology of Sex. Havelock Ellis is unquestionably the most important sex researcher of the 20th century. It's head and shoulders above anyone else. I'm sorry to say, for all the Yanks, he just leaves you standing. Anyhow, leaving him out to one side, in an annex to one of a little add-on bit at the end of one of his books, I think it's book one, there's a piece by a guy called Josiah Flint, which was the pen name of J.F. Willard, so it's obviously Josiah Flint Willard. He was a journalist, and he was very interested in this subject. So he actually lived with tramps and hobos, both in the United States and in Britain. And generally speaking, and I didn't know this until I read these books, tramps don't seek work. They just want money, and beg. Whereas hobos are actually looking for work. They're travelling about looking for work. And as such, that's a very old tradition. That certainly goes back over 1,000 years of men just wandering around and selling their skills. I could, give us a job. Give us a job, go on. I can lay bricks, yeah, I can do that. Give us a job. And that's what hobos do. Whereas the tramps, it's just like, they're panhandlers, give me money. Anyhow, this guy, Josiah Flint, he had interviewed a tramp, because the tramps and the hobos were famous for being accompanied by what they called Prussians, which were young boys between the age of about 10 and 18, who were essentially the tramps, hobos, travelling wives. Okay? And I know you don't like it, but that's what it was. I didn't invent it. So Josiah Flint Willard asked this hobo, why do you do this? What's going on here? Why? And the guy said, well, it's just because there ain't enough women. Just not enough. And if I can't have that, I've got to have the other. So what you're talking about is men who are highly, but not always abnormally so, highly sexed, looking around going, how can I satisfy this urge? And oh, look. J. Michael Bailey said in his book, The Man Who Would Be Queen, he said the thing about the boys that we're talking about is they look feminine. They don't have hairy bodies, they don't have defined musculatures, and they have neotenous faces. So from a man, the point is they don't trigger a man's normal masculinity rejection. Because that's really crucial to men. We don't like masculinity in a sexual sense. It's like, oh, no. We don't want anything to do with that. But the boys don't trigger it. So Bailey was saying, well, that makes them appealing targets for me. We'll just leave it at that. So this explained the relationship of the boys to the tramps. And it's a situation of situational homosexuality. None of these people were actually homosexual. They just wanted sex. Right? So how are we going to get it? Well, you're just going to have to play the girl and I'll play the guy. That's it. Of course, women will never understand that. But we don't really need to worry ourselves about what women do and don't understand. So we now have a situation in the West, if these people are to be believed, where men are completely rejecting the notion of having relationships with women. And the reason that they're quoting is that they don't like the way women behave. Men are repulsed by masculinity. So if a woman is assertive, aggressive, rude, all of these things which are absolutely typical of modern Western women, and particularly US American women, then they're going to repulse men. Men are going to go, I don't fancy you much. You got a big mouth. Get lost. I mean, I told you, men don't have sex men don't pursue female partners for conversation. They pursue them for two reasons: make babies and fucking. That's it. We are not interested in, your little stories about the latest sale on whatever it is you like. We don't care. We care about very fundamental things. And so what men have done, again, if these stories are true, and there is certainly some truth in them, is that they're going, right, okay, well, if I'm not going to have women, what else am I going to do? And men can always get sexual relief. I mean, it's just a question of jacking yourself off. It's not exactly difficult. We all know how to do it. Seriously, we do. We might not admit to it, but we do know how to do it. So women are left going, oh. A good friend of mine, I've not seen him for a couple of years, but he's a good friend, knew him at school. His sister who was, geez, she's my age now, but she's gorgeous. You know, when she was in her early 20s, that woman was like, holy crap. Is that your sister? My God. She had, the last count, she had 6 husbands. And I did ask my friend, I said, why does she do that? You know, I mean, what's going on? And he said, well, the thing is that men just get bored with sex, and then they give up sex, and that's it. My sister goes, fuck you, and gets another one. Which is interesting, because you normally think of men being the sexual aggressors, but in that case, she is definitely a very sexually aggressive girl. And you know, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think any man would. It's like, oh, okay, fine. But what she was saying was that it's not enough. There has to be more for a successful relationship. So men are like going, well, you know, what are you really offering me? And given again, remember that we're talking about situations occurring where you could lose your entire life, basically, just by being associated with women. I mean, men are advised these days, don't even assist women. You know, if you've got a woman at the side of the road with a flat tire, don't do it. Don't assist her. Because she might well turn around and say, oh, he molested me. And it's a risk that you shouldn't take. Men should not take these risks. You know? Just shouldn't happen. Shouldn't be doing it. So what women are doing is they're creating a situation. Remember about situational homosexuality? The situation in situational homosexuality is there are no women. So men figure out another way of doing it. You know, the cute ones, maybe we could get you a little dress and some makeup. What has happened is that women, feminists, have made it such a problem for men to actually have women that men are going, well, is there anything else we could do? And for some men it'll be like, well, I'm going fishing. Others it might be, I like fixing up old cars. It might be, I like to go sailing. And I've done all these things, you know. And any one of them, even owning a boat, which is really often compared to standing under a shower, tearing up 10-pound notes, even owning a boat is cheap compared to having a woman. Believe me, it really is. Anyhow, enough of that for the moment. So what's happened is that the feminists, and it shows you how staggeringly stupid they are, have created, essentially, a situation where there are no women. And so they're going, well, so what do men do? Well, yes, some go fishing, some sail their boats, some fix up old cars, and some of them go to Pattaya. In fact, quite a lot of them go to Pattaya. What happens is they chase lady boys, they chase girly boys, because they go, what is a woman giving me for all the added harassment that I have for dating her? I mean, a logical solution would be just to, you know, pay her for sex. You're going to pay her anyway. And it's probably cheaper just to pay her $50 or $75 or whatever it is. I mean, these prices get ridiculous sometimes, but you know what I mean. Pay her the money, fuck her, go home. Job done. What's the problem? Well, you've got USican morality and all that absolute crap to deal with. But what's happening is, at the moment, is that a lot of men are going elsewhere. I mean, they're not all chasing ladyboys. They may be chasing women from other cultures. And that gives you the passport bros, who are essentially black men, but white men too, who are just going abroad to find partners and sex. And of course, the feminists are going absolutely doolally about that. Oh my God, sex tourism! Oh God, the sky is going to fall in! You know, for a long time, the feminists thought they really had the situation under control. And you can just see what's happened. It has backfired. It has backfired so much. I mean, I've got a daughter, you know. I don't approve of great big 6'3" fucking behemoths trying to get changed in the same changing room as her. Of course I don't. But at the same time, it is bloody funny, you know, because all that stuff comes from feminist theory. Though gender isn't real. Gender is just a social construct. If gender is just a social construct, anybody can change it. And you check, I have never said that. I've always said that gender is a direct function of sexuality. But they won't have that. Can't have that. And of course, the gays in the West are the same. Oh, you mean that? Here, in fact, I just wrote that. Here, a male, a biological male, who likes to be penetrated, immediately people are going to go, well, what are you doing? If he tries to pretend to be a man, people are just going to go, what are you doing? You're not a man. You like being penetrated. Here's your dress. You wear that and stop fucking about. You're just not going to have any of it. So the Western thing about, oh, we're all manly men, but we've always had that. Here, I know, don't think so. I mean, you do get macho gays here, but they're figures of fun. People consider them to be ridiculous, which they are. I mean, you get short hair backlash here, backlash is a ladyboy. So you get ones with short hair. And quite often they'll wear a wig when they go out, But when they go to work, they've got short hair. Put on the makeup. And seriously, I mean, 11 o'clock at night after 3 drinks, you don't know the difference. Trust me, until you're busy some hours later giving it laldy in the hotel room and her wig falls off. Oh, better to be prepared for that sort of thing. Know what I mean? So, what women have done is they have created the situation which is required for situational homosexuality to thrive. That being, there's no women. There's women, all right, but they're not attractive. Nobody wants them. Well, 90% of the people in the nightclub are women, and men are still not going. They're going, screw that, because they know what they're like. They're rude, they're money obsessed, they're materialistic, they're not funny, they're just no fun to be with. And men are like, fuck you. I'll tell you what, I'm going sailing, or I'm going to fix my motorbike, or I'm going to fucking sort my stamp collection, or I'm going to play in my rock and roll band. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. It just doesn't involve women because you're all a pain in the arse. And we know what a pain in the arse you are now. You've spent 50 bloody years you've been telling men how awful they are, how terrible they are, how they shouldn't exist, how 90% of men should be exterminated. It's really true. Feminists have said that. And now you're going, but you won't date us. What the fuck do you think we're going to do? You think we're going to put up with that kind of crap forever? A pretty face and a slippery hole is not enough. It just isn't. We can get plenty of that with none of the hassle at all in many parts of the world, which are not USica. Believe me. And even funnier, it's absolutely hilarious right now. And you have to, see things from the funny side, because otherwise you'd cry. But, in the United States, the borders are open. Excuse me. The United States, the borders are open. And the cultures from which a significant number of the people who are flooding into the United States come are what you call Hispanic cultures. Right? They're actually Native American cultures, but don't worry about it. And they don't have a problem with boys dressing up as girls and doing the dirty with men. They're like, hey, that's fine. It happens all the time here. It's the same philosophy as applies here. You want a man? Put a dress on. How the hell are you going to attract a man when you're dressed like that? You look like a guy. No man's going to go near you. Put on a dress and a wig and some makeup oil. I'm going to have to think about this. And of course, American men are so incredibly insecure about their masculinity. I mean, they were insecure about their masculinity to start with. But 50 years of putting up with feminist bullshit has made them even worse. You know what I mean? What do they think? They think these girls are going to stick them in the bum. That's not how it works. You fuck him. It's not really complicated, It's really not a difficult thing to do. It's really no different from doing it with an actual woman. True. It's really true. And any woman who says different, I'm going to say, well, how would you bloody know? You haven't got a cock. I mean, get real. There's no way you can test the proposition. Ain't gonna happen, honey. So this is what is actually happening, is that women, through their incredible hubris and their rudeness and their assuming natures and their undisguised hatred of men, have created a situation where there are no men, because the men don't want the available women. They're like, oh, I don't want that. What would I do with one of those? Paying fucking gold digger? Why would I want you? What is it you can give me? Yeah, I remember Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa's a wonderful man, you know, and he was so funny. And I remember he did this tour. I saw several of his concerts back in the day, and he did this one where there was a song on this particular album. I think it's Joe's Garage, and it's called Titties and Beer. He says, I like titties and beer because, tell you what, most girls these days don't know what to do with the other part. Yes, that's the problem. They're fucking useless in bed as well. So what's the point? What is the point? So what they've done is they've created, you know, the term hoist by your own petard, which means blown up by your own banger, never was more apt. Never. Feminism has been hoisted by its own petard because men just don't want them anymore. Men just don't want them. They go, fuck you. We're not interested. You can be all over YouTube bitching as much as you like about how isn't it terrible that men just don't want to do this anymore. Well, what do you expect? You think we're stupid enough to go on putting up with your crap forever? When we could go, I don't know, Bangkok, Singapore, Manila, and within that much time, pick up a drop-dead gorgeous ladyboy who will do everything. Who knows how to do everything. And she has enormous enthusiasm for doing it. And you're going to be like, hey, this is great, you know, she cooks, she cleans, she sits on my cock every morning. What the fuck? What's the problem? Do you follow me? Western women have totally fucked it up. And the people who are going to suffer the most are Western women. Western guys will always find a way. But women can't do that because they don't have penises. So, Carry On with the Cucumbers. There's a good name for a film, actually. Carry On Cucumbers. If you're British, you'll remember the Carry On series. Carry On Cucumbers. Yes, that's what I'll say. Carry On Cucumbers. Because that's all that's going to be left to you. And the reason is, you fucked up. Not us. We didn't do anything. We didn't fuck up. You fucked up. You fucked it up by allowing feminists to do what they've done. And they're busy trying to completely destroy the society in other ways too, but that one's done. And the fact is that and it is fine, population reproduction rates in educated white demographic, it's through the fucking floor. It's under 1.5 now. Well, you need 2.2 just to stay the same. It's going through the floor. Why is it going through the floor? Women aren't having babies. Women are bitching because there's no men want to do this. Why are they not dating you? Because you don't want babies. Why would we bother? Men get married for two reasons. To make a family and to have sex. If you're useless in bed and you don't want babies, you ask me why I like ladyboys. That's why. Anyway, we'll see you later. Have fun. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, but that leaves you a hell of a scope. Bye-bye.